Greetings and salutations to you all once again. It is me, the Ravenous Spectre. This is a little bit of a video that I guess I kind of wanted to elaborate a little bit on the whole story behind Doom 2016. I guess you could call it Doom 2016 because it's just called Doom and it released in 2016. So, anyways, there's been obviously when Doom had first came out, way back in the day, with the 90s, whatever. There wasn't really any real story to it, and there wasn't really, to my knowledge, any real story to the Doom series as it progressed onward until probably I think when we got to Doom 3. Um, that's when they kind of introduced a little bit more of a story to it, in the audio logs and how the game had progressed and so on and so forth. And to me, with the new Doom, it kind of seems like it takes a little bit from Doom 3 in the way on how it tries to tell its storytelling, but in Doom 3 it seemed like they had more cutscenes, it seemed like they had more character involvement, I guess you could say. But this whole thing where people say, well, there's not really any type of story or anything in the new Doom, I honestly call false on that. The way that I see it is, it obviously ended up creating Wolfenstein, and the new Wolfenstein that had came out, the New Order, and also the Old Blood. Honestly, to me, they had some good stories. You had a really unique, awesome story inside of a first-person shooter, and I thought that they were pretty cool. And the way that it seems like it should have done the same thing with this Doom makes me think if they could have done that with Wolfenstein, they could have done that with Doom. Because the only real way that you're really going to get any story out of Doom, the new Doom, is if you read the dossiers, if obviously as you progress through the game, you end up hearing these holograms speak, and you see these holograms in motion, and a couple characters, they end up talking to you through your comm thing in your helmet or whatever as you progress through the game. Obviously, I haven't finished the game yet, but from what I've seen thus far and what I've read on the environments and the dossiers, what I've read on the demons that you fight, what I've read on the Doom Marine and the other characters that's in the game, it really made me stop and think, okay, you did this with Wolfenstein, where you really made a good story, and I felt like they could have done the exact same thing with Doom. And see, the things that I'm reading and what I'm hearing is like they really could have like either put this into cutscenes, or they could have put them where you actually interacted with it in the game, or something along those lines. It just seemed to me like it would have made for a much more deeper experience in terms of story. And obviously the gameplay is there. The gameplay is phenomenal. It's great. I love it. It's fast paced, and obviously that's what we want, because especially in a Doom game, because we have the old school, but we're bringing in the new school stuff just as well, with like the weapon upgrades and the I guess it's called the Praetor suit or whatever it is, like the Doom guy's Marines suit. And of course, you upgrade that, and you upgrade your weapons, and you get these ruins as well. They kind of give you different abilities and whatnot. And the thing that kind of gets to me is just, why is it that it seemed like it really didn't focus more on trying to really put this story into perspective? I mean, obviously it's their property, they can do what they want, but I guess it kind of just makes me stop and think about it, and it's like, okay, well, if they ended up doing this, then maybe they really just wanted to try to follow the old school path, where it's like, okay, well, we're not going to put story in your face, we're just going to go ahead and give you gameplay, and if you want to experience the story, you can read it in the dossiers and all this other stuff, and the other little tiny glowy things that you pick up as you go throughout the environment, which is kind of like what it was in Doom 3, where you ended up going and picking up these little email things and these audio logs and things of that nature. And I'm just sitting there, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I was like, I really just wish they would have just put this in the game like it's just something you can interact with, something to just bring out more story, something, or cutscenes. I know some people, I know how some people feel about cutscenes and whatnot, but there's some cutscenes in some games where you can actually move around, where you can interact while they're playing out, as you're actually seeing like interaction or something with characters, or interaction with your character themselves interacting with other characters or within the environment or whatever the case may be. They could have done something like that. But this whole talk about, well, Doom doesn't have any story going on, honestly, it does. I'm not saying you have to dig for it, but you do have to read it. And it just kind of makes me think why they did that. I really just thought, I mean, obviously it's a great game as it is, but I think it just could have been, at least to me, just so much more better if they really ended up implementing the story that they put in there. I mean, yeah, they could have added stuff in there where you could have read and gotten even more deeper insight into said characters and environments and the demons you fight and all of that. That's all well and good. But if they could have just added more into that, then it just would have, to me, it would have been even better. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, man, this just seems like some really cool and awesome stuff. And obviously they just wanted to take the old school route. I guess maybe one thing is they possibly might have had some complaints from the previous Doom with like, oh well, it takes us forever to get into the action. This isn't what Doom is about. Blah blah blah. It's not what we've always known Doom to be. So considering the fact that maybe they took those complaints to heart, if they were complaints, I'm pretty sure there were, and they ended up doing this with the new Doom. But yeah, I mean, if you guys have any thoughts or comments, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, do whatever, leave them below, and we can have a little bit of a discussion on it. But I guess that's kind of one thing that kind of really gets to me, especially when it comes to first-person shooters. I mean, of course, it's all about going through and, especially with Doom, blood and guts and gore and killing demons and really fast-paced stuff and just taking out a bunch of enemies and all of that for that specific franchise. But the thing is I just feel like if it really just, or first-person shooters, if they really just put more emphasis on story just as well, there's trickery and things that they can do to try to really bring out story without having to make you sit through a cutscene and just want to keep you moving or shooting or exploring or whatever the case may be. There's ways that they can do that. I know they can. I've seen it in other games, and the same thing can happen for first-person shooters just as well. And I really do feel like, even though Doom is a great game, to me, with everything that I'm reading, it's lacking in that story department. I mean, it's not lacking in story, period, but it's lacking in the fact that it seems like it wasn't really implemented into the game, because you're going to have people that are going to go into this game and they're just going to play it, and maybe some people, because I actually have one friend of mine, as a matter of fact, speaking of people, is the fact that he was wanting to know how the story was, and he wanted to know how the gameplay was. And I told him the gameplay was great and all that. He says, well, if the story is good, he says, I'll probably also end up picking it up. And to me, it kind of feels like if he gets the game, he's going to love the gameplay, but he's going to have to actually read all of that stuff in order to get any type of story out of it. And it really seems like if they would have catered a little bit more towards the story, and to me, basically it seems to me like they're adding more meat to Doom. Considering the fact you're blowing meat all apart with all the demons you fight and all that. But to me, it kind of feels like it would just be taking Doom. You still have the old school stuff, but it's just taking it on a new path in terms of story. The old school gameplay is there, and along with the new school stuff with the upgrading and whatnot, but it really just would have like advanced it a little bit more, at least in my terms, with giving us a more interesting story. Because it seems like some of the things that I'm seeing are just really heavy metal in nature, like the things that I'm reading about the Doom Marine and the demons on how they act, and just like the other characters, that the reason that they are the way that they are and who they are and all of that. And you'll have people who go through it and they'll play it and they won't even think twice about reading this stuff. I mean, they'll only hear the stuff that the holograms say, or that they might see in the environment or something, but they may either not even bother to pick this stuff up in the environment, or they may just leave it alone, and they may pick it up to see if they can get like an achievement or trophy, but they won't bother to read it. It's just like, oh, there's this shiny thing, let me go ahead and pick it up, but they won't actually take the time to delve into it, to actually see what I believe is a hidden layer to Doom. I mean, I really do hope that I hope that people actually see this video and share this video, and actually, while they're playing Doom, go back and read those things, or before they play Doom, to actually go and collect this stuff and read it or hear it or whatever. Or even if they've already completed Doom, if they want to go back and play it again, to actually take the time to look into this stuff. And honestly, I'm not much of a reader. I mean, it's funny because I love RPGs and I kind of read fast through the dialogue itself. But when it comes to like books and things like that, unless it's like a graphic novel, obviously it's like comics. I'll look at comics and read through that because it just gives me more excitement, I guess you could say, and also because I'm a bit of an artist as well, and I like to draw, which I haven't drawn in a while, to be able to actually see the things that are happening in the book in such a glorious conglomeration of like color and inks and story and characters and all of that. But the thing is it's just like, I had to, obviously I had to go and read that, but when it boils down to me, reading in general, it's not really my thing. And if I would have had that in more of like an in your face kind of thing, it would have just made me think, oh wow, it has really gone out of their way to really just bring this story to the forefront with dealing with Doom and just trying to delve deeper into the mythos and the lore and everything like that that surrounds Doom. And so, anyways, yeah, I mean that's pretty much my whole thoughts on it. Um, if I happen to make a follow-up video or anything to this, especially after I finish the game, so be it. Maybe I'll do a review on it. Maybe I won't. I don't really know. But yeah, it's definitely worth the play. And if you guys are really wanting to get into some story, definitely go ahead and read the dossiers you get and listen to everything and just all of that. So because it honestly to me it's like some cool stuff. It's some really cool stuff, especially dealing with the Doom Marine himself. So that's probably one of the main things that really kind of made me want to make this video is the fact that it just seems like we got a faceless, voiceless guy that we're playing in the game, and it seems like these little tidbits and stuff that you're reading is actually trying to give him some character and trying to give him some story. But for some people, if they don't have it, like, especially when it deals with a video game, if they don't have it, like, right there in their face, they won't bother to go back and read it. And usually I'm not even the type of person who really does that, but I told myself, I really want to explore this, and I really want to see what's going on with Doom and what it is really trying to do instead of just making a great game. Seeing what they were going to be doing with actual story. So, anyways, I'll go ahead and end this now. And later, taters.